This session would focus on operational safety in LPG distribution and retailing. And so we have a few specialists in the in the house that have come to help us, distill this topic. So we also have a speaker who's going to come have a presentation and take us through his slides. So I want to start by inviting the head of HSC for the Lagos region from the NMDPRA, the regulator, Engineer Ogionwon and Ebi. If you can please come forward. Please, a round of applause for him as he makes his way. Thank you, everyone. I think you can do better. Thank you. While he makes his way, I want to also call on the MD, CEO, Lagos State Safety Commission, Mr. Lanre Mojola. Your hands together, please. Thank you. You're welcome, sir. So please take a seat. And thirdly, I also have a veteran in the house, my man, Femi Fanoiki. Welcome. He is the chairman, Safety and Technical Committee of the NLCGA, formerly NLPGA. Please put your hands together. These are people that have paid the price, that have paid their dues in the LPG sector. So please put your hands together for Mr. Fanoiki. Another LPG veteran, Mrs. Joy Shayien, chairman of Women in LPG. Yes. Put your hands together, please. You're welcome. Right here? Yep. Here or there? Women, you're not supporting. Now, wow. This is one of your own representing. Okay. You're welcome. Lastly, we have Mrs. Margaret Adeseye, Director, Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service. Mrs. Margaret, okay, your hands together. I think she has a representative. Put your hands together. Thank you very much. And so before we go into the panel discussion, you're welcome. Thank you. Before we go into the panel discussion, I want to invite another LPG stalwart, Nuhu Yakubu, who is the MD of Banagas, to come and give us a quick presentation on LPG safety and practices. Mr. Nuhu Yakubu, are you in the house? I thought I saw him here. Nuhu Yakubu. Nuhu Yakubu, we're waiting for your presentation. Okay. Well, I think he had to take his leave because he was already going to, he had a doctor's appointment, I think. Okay, so I think we'll just go straight to our session. Thank you, gentlemen and lady, for joining us today. For people in the house, LPG is a very, very critical field for energy transition. When it comes to meeting the needs, energy needs of the home, I think LPG is critical. Now, looking at the value chain for LPG, you'll see that there are various stakeholders, but the one closest to your home basically are the retailers. So the retail end, where you have the distributors, where you also have the skid tanks and all the resellers at that last mile, that is the most critical aspect of the LPG value chain and the place at which safety is paramount, in terms of enforcement, in terms of, giving assurance also to people that LPG is safe and dispelling the myths around LPG. And so today we're discussing issues of how to operate safely at that retail end, working with stakeholders, especially people that operate within that, space, which is a retailers association. There will be need for a lot of stakeholder engagement between the Lagos State and these operators. Beyond that, there needs to be sort of capacity building for members of staff that work for those retailers. There's need also for certification. There's need for quite a lot of things. Okay, yeah, so we have Mr. Nuhu Yakubu. Put your hands together. He had to reschedule and push forward his doctor's appointment just to be with us. So please put your hands together for him making that sacrifice. So thank you very much. Let me give you my mic. Okay. So you can have mine.
I don't want to disrupt the panel session's the talk before he puts me on the spot.
Go ahead.
So should I go on?
Please go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I think the day is fast spent. I was asked to come and make a presentation on safety. I don't know if my slide is up.
Technical team, can you please help us? Okay, I think that it's coming back up. So please, we want to indulge you for a minute or two. Okay, so we have it up now. Mr. Yakubu, over to you.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody, once again. My name is Nuhu Yakubu, and I'm the Managing Director of Banner Energy Limited. I'm an industry enthusiast. I guess that's the reason why I was invited today to come and make this presentation. Hello. I want to be sure we're awake. We're going to be discussing safety today. And it's very important that I make these opening remarks about, why at all I'm even qualified to make this presentation. I don't wear a safety hat per se, based on my day-to-day work. But again, because I'm the CEO of a gas operating company, it therefore means I must have much knowledge about gas, which is the business that I operate. And reason why I took up this, I accepted the invitation to make this presentation. I think we should all pay attention to this. If we're all interested in the gas business, it therefore means whatever segment of the value chain we plug ourselves into, we all must be very much involved in the safety issues that are involved. So today's discussion is on operational safety across gas value chain. I don't know, where do I point this to? Okay. This is just a basic schematic of the LPG gas value chain from exploration to production, whether it's onshore, offshore, and then processing, refining or transportation, storage, marketing. But today we're going to be limiting our discussions to production to storage and then to the market. All right, from essentially storage, because we're discussing distribution today, it's going to be from storage to transportation, bottling, and then marketing, or even to the home users. Now, is it possible for the technical team to help me run the slides? Because this is not, all right? Is it possible? So when I say next slide, or it's possible, right? Good, thank you. So I will just be faster. Now, so like I said before, that is the value chain from production, transportation, storage, bottling, distribution, and then end users. All right, next slide, please. My talking points are going to be essentially safety imperatives across these segments of the distribution value chain. So that informs my talking points. Next slide, please. Now, so let's talk about LPG as a product. So the meaning of LPG, liquefied petroleum gas, or common cooking gas as is commonly known, is produced during gas refining process, processing of methane as a gas, and then LPG is in its occurrence is either propane or butane or a mix of or both of them. And then the nature of LPG is such that it exists in both the liquid phase and the gaseous phase. The liquid phase is when you are when you carry an LPG cylinder. You see, when you shake it, you observe that the cylinder shakes. That's the liquid form of the gas. All right. So in an LPG cylinder, you see the cold part at the bottom of it having the liquid phase of it, and then the upper part of it is the gaseous phase. And it's important for us to understand that LPG vaporizes, when it comes to natural occurrence with air. So when the LPG vaporizes, it expands by a factor of about 270, which means an LPG volume that is maybe within this small space that I'm holding now, when it comes in contact with air, it spreads 270 times. It is important that we understand that for the subsequent discussions I'm going to be engaging us in today. And also, LPG is usually safely contained in a canister or what we call it LPG vessel, whether it's a small vessel or a big one. Next slide, please. So, for the other characteristics, is the LPG is an odorless and colorless product. Hence, it's usually odorized, and then it's flammable, highly flammable. LPG is heavier than air, but it is lighter than water. The pressure storage of LPG is quite low. Maybe your football, you see for some of us who play basketball, who play football here, see the pressure you have in your football might just be about around the kind of pressure you see for LPG storage. It's not too much of, it's not stored in so much of high pressure as compared to what you have for CNG. And also, in terms of toxicity, it is classified as a toxic substance. Asphyxiation also, as I put on the screen, vapor cloud, it could disperse if not ignited, and that is vaporizes naturally. So if it doesn't come in contact with ignition source, if it escapes from a contained space, it can vaporize easily. And then also under condensation leaves frost bites and what have you, as it is on the screen. Please, next slide, please. Now, safety concerns in LPG installations, now starting with the depot operations. First issue I've touched on here is pressure, imbalance or overpressurization. The second will be mechanical failures, either by reason of poor designs or weld failures, that's weld joints, poor or lack of integrity test or pressure test, inappropriate modification, ruptures, pipe ruptures, poor maintenance, leaky flanges, gaskets, valves, and what have you. And then hose pull-away incidents. Hose pull-away incidents speaks to issues of maybe using the wrong couplings. If you don't use the right couplings, like what we call the breakaway couplings. And then other factors like human error. And of course, proximity to ignition sources is always an issue And one issue that we often forget is that of statics, okay? Electrical currents can be found everywhere, and so you have to do earthing. Excuse me, please, next slide. Then operational safety for depot will continue. Let's say LPG equipment must be designed to appropriate standards. By the way, I didn't leave a caveat. This presentation was done quite hurriedly. So if I get all the applause, it's to me. If I don't get the applause, it's the people that presented it, prepared it for me, and all Femi's boys in the industry, whom I asked to get it ready for me. So, okay, so LPG equipment must be designed to appropriate standards. So the standards are listed there, the API, NFPA, NMDPRA as the case of Nigeria. And the installations must be fitted with adequate safety and monitoring control devices. Safety devices such as emergency shut-off valves, shutdown buttons, emergency shutdown buttons, gas leak detectors, pressure and temperature gauges, lightning conductors, earthling, fire fighting systems, portable fire, and the list goes on. These are all safety features and gadgets, devices that should feature in your LPG process designs. Use of breakaway couplings, like I said before, for loading and unloading of operations in case of pull-away incidents. Pull-away incidents is when, in the event that there's a jack in the process of on the transfer hose. And then management of hazards must factor in control of ignition sources, and then proper safety signages must be displayed conspicuously. Next slide, please. Now, incident scenarios in LPG depots. What I've done here is to just highlight the typical safety concerns for every segment, and then consequences of not doing the right thing are also projected. So, for example, we have an incident scenario here. Facing refinery accident in France. It's a long time ago, 1966. Good thing we have not had any such massive we've not had any major depot incidents in Nigeria, am I correct? But there have been a few around the world, and it can be very, very disastrous, especially if you have the Blevy effect, and that can lead to multiple deaths. This is even a small one. Otherwise, it can be very, very terrible because of the volume of gas that is involved. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So this slide speaks to some of the features, safety features, the breakaway couplings, pressure relief valves. Next slide. Gas leak detectors. Just keep sliding. Gas leak detectors, level gauges, and what have you. And then on this slide, safety concerns in LPG installations, retail plant operations. So now to the next segment, which is retail plant operations. In this segment, you have mechanical failures deriving from poor designs, weld failures, almost the same kind of challenges and precautions that you will have to observe for a depot is almost the same thing you have for retail filling plants because they are all pressure vessels. It's just that it's coming in a smaller size. So again, the same pull-away incidents using the right couplings. Ignition sources have to be avoided far away or put far away or even avoid, if not avoidable altogether, but must be some reasonable distance far off. Static discharge, human error must be avoided, and that can be addressed by training for competent staffing of the operations of the plant. And then struck by vehicles. So getting struck by vehicles is the reason why you usually have the bollards, the safety bollards set around the plant for plants that the vehicles should come close to. But otherwise, the better design should be your gas storage should be reasonably far away from where the truck would have to come to do the discharge or loading operation. Please, next slide. Again, almost the same standards, but governing the depot operations, like I read out earlier, will govern the LPG retail storage plant. So, compliance with regulatory requirements is very key for LPG play. Go on, please. Now, for incident scenarios in LPG retail plants, I was zeroed in on one of them, this time around in Nigeria, and it was resulted from a loss of primary containment. And this happened on the 20th of February 2023, where there was a fire breakout and explosion was recorded at an LPG filling plant at a forum in Delta State. I don't know if you remember that incident. Following an uncontrolled release of gas from a single unit 20-ton storage tank, and the root cause was mechanical failure due to poorly welded multiple joints. Points that I made earlier. If you go to the next slide, please. So, and then the next slide will be on the road tanker. What are the safety concerns for mobile filling plants or LPG trucks? For that will be tank to truck or to tank product transfer or loading to discharge, what we call loading and discharging operations. Under that, we have the loss of containment from hose connection, flanged or valve, loss of containment due to inappropriate venting, forceful accidental decoupling or hose connection, transfer incident, vehicular crash leading to loss of containment, leading to fire disaster, product losses due to shortage at terminal, theft during transit, theft. I mean, interestingly, this wasn't so much of a bad, very prevalent with us in the past, but now it's becoming a big issue. We have theft in the transportation segment of the industry these days. And that can also lead to is a very big unsafe practice that can lead to serious incidents. And also uncontrolled ignition sources is a common denominator, explosive atmosphere, static electricity, wrong or defective equipment featuring on the mobile filling plants. So in the industry, we prefer to train our drivers to understand that they are not just drivers, but they are actually plant operators of they are operators of mobile filling plants, because essentially the same features as you will find on a static plant is what you find on a mobile filling plant, which is a truck. Next slide, please. Then operational safety for LPG trucking and distribution continued. LPG truck is considered to be a mobile plant, like I said earlier, and must be manned by trained and competent mobile operators. No venting is allowed. Trucks should be positioned facing the exit while loading and offloading. Venting is allowed by its natural occurrence, of course, because every truck has a safety relief valve, which means also a pressure relief valve, which means when there's pressure buildup, it naturally releases. Other than that, it is not expected that you want to be venting a truck. Trucks must be inspected regularly, and then safety signs are very, very key to loading and uploading of pollutions for mobile filling plants, which is trucks. And trucks must be able to start with the ignition key, and this is very key, very important. You are not to jump start or start a truck by touching wires. It's not allowed. You must ensure that your Kickstarter and your ignition keys are working appropriately for purposes of starting a truck. Go on, please. An incident scenario for LPG trucking and distribution this time around. Again, this is a Nigerian case. This happened in 2021 at about 10 p.m. In this case, there was a major fire outbreak at OP Plaza at Mobaji Bankantini. I don't know if you guys remember this incident, Nikeja, following a loss of containment from an LPG bobtail truck parked in front of the facility. The driver and motorboy had to flee due to uncontrolled release of gas from a truck and burning the truck in the process. The LPG vapor, after engulfing the entire plaza, found an ignition source and ignited, causing severe burns, which led to multiple fatalities, damages, vehicle losses. And the root cause of this problem was mechanical failure caused by properly welded multiple joints or inappropriate modifications, as the case may be. Next slide, please. And then, again, this is on mobile filling plants. Another incident on 11th of March. This is recent. An LPG-laden bridger truck was involved in a road crash and was eventually engulfed in fire along the Todola Bridge. Root cause, alleged brake failure. Lesson learned, the LPG tank was salvaged due to action of the pressure relief valve, which means you could have accident could naturally occur, in the course of your doing business. But if you have the right features on your plant, whether it's a mobile filling plant or a static filling plant, stationary plant, there's a high likelihood that there will not be a fatality, or there will not be it won't lead to a major incident. And then another one case again, vehicular crash as a loss of containment. So next slide, please. And then safety issues. I'm trying to rush this. I know the day is fast spent. So safety issues for LPG cylinder handling. Again, on this one, you have loss of containment during cylinder to cylinder decanting. It's not supposed to be allowed, but it's still a practice amongst retailers. And uncontrolled ignition sources. So if you have somebody frying akara in the neighborhood, please be mindful while you're doing your decanting, because you can just pick the nearest ignition source. And the ignition source is anywhere there's fire nearby. It might be a smoldering charcoal, it might be, but so long as it's something that is hot, red hot, and it can actually lead to major incidents. And unauthorized dealers, poor safety precautionary measures such as safety distances, lack of emergency response plan, poor handling of cylinders, defective cylinders. Emergency response is very, very key. And I want to believe that the safety department, Lagos Safety Department, will be speaking to that in the course of this conference to address what improvements Lagos State government has brought to bear on emergency response. Please, next slide. Then cylinder handling and safety technique. Cylinder handling safety technique. Store cylinders in level surfaces away from combustible or inflammable materials. Keep away from sources of ignition. Cylinders must stand vertically at all times to allow room for vapor pressure. And inspect cylinders before filling. Do not fill defective cylinders. And carry out customer education on safe handling of cylinders. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. And then incident scenario, in the case of LPG retail cylinder handling, was in the case of 13th of April 2021, where we had around the residential community in Agboju, Omodofin, where a gas cylinder exploded at a cylinder retail shop, leading to multiple casualties and damage to infrastructure. And on the 5th of July, same year, one of 2 units, 50 kg cylinders exploded in the course of delivery by Folagbade roundabout Ijebu Ode, leading to multiple casualties, allying an unrecognized LPG leakage while commuting. According to eyewitness account, the Kekemawa driver carrying LPG cylinders parked on a vulcanizer shop to pump his deflated tires, and in the process, the cylinder exploded. Again, this issue of either poorly welded cylinders or a nearby ignition source or some kind of leak, as the case may be. There have been many of such cases, and we have to avoid them. Next slide, please. How to detect leak. Characteristic smell, because LPG in Nigeria, as most part of the world, has to be extinguished. So it has a characteristic foul smell. And the hissing sound of a leaking cylinder, you should pay attention to that. Condensation of frost around the area of the leak. So wherever the leak is, you will always find some kind of wetness and frost. And then using soapy water can also help you see the bubbles around a leak. And then by installing a leak detector. Next slide, please. Cooking, bounds, application, cooking, these are different applications of, please just run these slides, these next slides, these next few slides. So these are multiple applications of LPG. So LPG is a robust fuel for water power generation, for auto gas. I mean, the conversation I'm having with one of the panelists earlier today was, adoption of auto gas in Nigeria ought to actually have been with LPG as opposed to CNG, because since we already have the co-location of LPG as a norm in Nigeria. It should have just been a way to kickstart autogas and promote autogas, and then we eventually have CNG joining in future, but that has not been the case in Nigeria. So I hope the government continues to listen to see how we can improve autogas use for LPG. Go on, please. Also, LPG for aerosols, textile, food processing, packaging, drying, heating, and whatever. All these are multiple applicable uses of LPG. And for each applicable use of LPG, there are safety concerns. There are different ways that LPG ought to be properly handled. Next slide. End users' safety. So for domestic use of LPG for cooking, the following are useful tips. Always buy from authorized dealer, vendor, and check for the cylinder expiry date. It's usually around the collar of the cylinder. Cook in well-ventilated spaces by keeping doors and windows open. Do not place plastic or flammable items near a flame. Do not wear loose clothes that may pick up fire easily. Inspect hoses and valves frequently. Clean burners periodically. And if you suspect a leak, do not trace with open flame. Use soapy water. And then close the regulator knob off position when cylinder is not in use. This is a very important safety tips. And then again, these are the applicable safety codes. Please go search them out. The NDPRA has them. You have also from SON, and you have from other regulatory bodies. I think Lagos State government now, with these new regulatory bodies also, I'm sure has its own reference codes as well. Next slide, please. Same thing. Next slide. So, in summary, you have NIS 555, you have NFPA 58. So, the list goes on. Go on, please. NLPB fire safety awareness. What is fire? Well, no need to go into all this. Please, next slide. So you must understand LPG in contact with oxygen, that is with air, ignition. Next slide. I'm sure I'm getting to the end of my presentation. Fire prevention, adherence to various design and safety standards, such as layout, separational distances between tanks, adjoining property. Yeah, very important, safety distances. Water supply, the sprinkling systems to help cool the tanks. People make the mistake of thinking that the sprinkling system on the tank is actually to fight the fire. No, it's actually meant to cool the tank. And by cooling the tank, it actually reduces the pressure, operating pressure of the tank, and by so doing the system. Avoid carrying out operation during the severe weather with lightning and thunder. Control static electricity to ground earthing. Avoid venting unnecessarily, and train your operators properly. Next slide, please. Prevention, fire prevention, minimize gas leaks during product filling and receiving or discharge operations. Hot works is completely prohibited. Avoid exposure to naked flames like welding, smoking, and sparks. Use standard and rated electrical equipment like X-proof lighting, for example. You need to have explosion-proof lightings around LPG installations. So in the event that there's any escape of gas, it doesn't pick the filament bulb heat. And then reduce the risk of fire, starting by practicing good housekeeping, and also necessary fire fighting systems and emergency plans must always be available at all LPG installations. Next slide. And the best way to stop escalation of LPG leakage or fire is to shut down the plant. Therefore, ensure that the gas leak detector or emergency shut-off valves and emergency shutdown buttons are installed and functioning at all times. There must be an emergency response and evacuation plan, and there must also be a qualified firefighting fighters around, well, or at least trained personnel who know how to moving quickly to quench the fire by different ways and means of quenching fire. And then design and layout must be, make provisions for emergency exits. Access routes must be well defined, and there must be no obstructions and clusters or cluttered. As such, locations must be marked out with visible signs on them. And then display emergency numbers on both medical and fire emergencies. You must be familiar with the fire service stations accessible within your locality, and personnel should be trained. You see, on every slide, I keep repeating training, competent personnel for operating and handling LPG facilities. Next slide, please. This should be the concluding slide. Next slide. Would that be the last slide? Yes, I'm told it's the last slide. Thank you very much, my session chair, for the time and patience.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yakubu, for that wonderful presentation. Please put your hands together.
If the applaud is not very big, you know somebody here will be surprised. But the applaud is big, it's for me. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. So wonderful presentation. And you know, the best way to talk about safety is actually to show you what can go wrong. And so when I saw the pictures of all those burnt out plants and so on, it basically shows you what can go wrong. Recently, I think there was a fire in Ajegunle where about 60 people, you know, got injured, you know, from retailer, you know, engaging in, you know, unsafe practices. And so I think there's nothing more telling than seeing actually the picture of, please take my seat. Thank you. Okay, you have to go. Okay. So thank you very much, Mr. Yakubu. And to my panelists, we're going to go pretty quickly. So you introduce yourself and then basically speak for the first time. I would have said let's all introduce ourselves, but we're out of time. And I can see people are, you know, running out of patience. So let's please keep our time for the, our presentations to about 2 minutes, to our 2 to 3 minutes for our questions, so that we can round up pretty quickly. So my first question will be to Mr. Lanre Mojola, MDCO, Lagos State Safety Commission. So thank you very much, sir. I wanted to ask, you know, so in your experience, basically, in terms of the Lagos Safety Commission, what do you think are the primary hazards associated with LPG retailing, and how do you handle that? Yeah.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My title is DG Safety Commission for documentation purposes. Okay. But I think I'd first of all like to say a big thank you to the last speaker, Mr. Yakubu, who has actually done a lot of the work that I was meant to do, because he's basically broken down all the risks. What could go wrong? A lot can go wrong. And there's been so many accidents in the state related to gas. And it all goes down to different types of mistakes, mechanical failure, human error, negligence, fatigue, frustration, environmental conditions. A lot can go wrong. But as against talking about what can go wrong, which has already been discussed, I think what I'd like to talk about is what are we doing as a state government to ensure that we mitigate these nuisances, to ensure that these issues don't continue to occur, and to ensure that we're building, indeed, a very safe society with regards to gas. 2,000 years ago, Marcus Cicero said that the safety of the people shall be the highest law. Today, 2,000 years after, the safety of people is still the highest law. And that's why if you're in the oil and gas sector, the mantra is safety first, safety first, safety first. Now, specifically to talk to the Class D vendors, which we typically call the retailers and the decanters, having seen a number of accidents occurring in the state, a lot of burns, a lot of fires, the Safety Commission decided to take the bull by the horn by championing an engagement session with a lot of the associations, NALPGA, LIPGA, and so many of them, trying to understand what the root cause of these problems were. Aside the associations, we also worked very closely with the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, Lagos State Fire Service, Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency, Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, all in the bid to ensure that we got it right. We started to look at overlaps between us and the federal government in terms of oil and gas being an exclusive area, however, safety being on the concurrent list. So we started to create guidelines, we started to create standards for handling of cylinders, transportation of dangerous goods and the likes. But then we realized that, hold on a second, these decanters are everywhere across the state. How do we even know where they are? So we carried out a very massive enumeration exercise. This was just immediately after COVID, where we went shop to shop, identifying where these kiosks were. We were geotagging them and putting them on a GPS system. And then we now did intensive risk assessments to identify those that did not operate with minimum safety standards. In total, we removed about 250 of these units, working with the Lagos State Task Force. But beyond just removing them, because we also realized that we were taking out their livelihood, what we then decided to do was to do a lot of capacity development. We did a lot of minimum safety standards training on how these people can handle gas. And to date, I believe, if my figures are correct, we've trained close to 750 people through different tiers. We bring them into a classroom, we talk to them about the essence of basic safety. We go down into what can go wrong. How do you mitigate? How do you prevent? What are the different techniques that you need to have when you're working with dangerous substances? Elimination of hazards, reduction of hazards, isolation of hazards, the use of PPE, and most importantly, the culture of safety. Because you can still have all these things, and if you don't have that culture of safety, which is discipline, things can still go wrong. So this and many more are some of the things that we've done. But on a regular basis, just a few weeks ago, we had another meeting with an association that a lot of these retailers are, where we now want to incorporate safety ambassadors through these associations, where they can then whistle-blow infractions. Because again, the Safety Commission is not Brickburg, that we're not everywhere. A state of about 22 million people, thousands and thousands of decanters. We cannot see all the problems. And our job is to ensure that before this risk crystallizes, we nip it in the bud. So what we've now done is we've now formed a very strong bond with them, where they then whistle-blow through some of our platforms. Whistle-blow some of these bad practices, unsafe practices, and then we ensure that we stop the work, we seal the location. And in some cases, we've actually charged the number of people to court. Just referencing some of the incidents that Mr. Yakubu mentioned. Some of them we found out that they were committed based on gross negligence, and some of these cases are still in court. Just 2 or 3 weeks ago, we still had one of the lawyers of the people that were hurt or burnt in one of those explosions come to our office requesting for more information. Another thing we do is we also do, after the incident has occurred, we do what they call a deep root cause analysis document, and we compile this. We ensure that going forward, people can also have access to some of these pieces of work to see what went wrong, to ensure that these do not occur again. But otherwise, for us, it's really about ensuring that we continue to deepen compliance and monitoring, ensuring that we continue to work with our partners in the state, in the federal level, ensure that we continue to train the operators of these people, and also ensure that even the general public whistle-blow some of these unsafe practices to us. You've given me 2 minutes. I guess I've done more than 2 minutes.
Please go ahead. I mean, it's very interesting what you're saying. I think you have quite a lot to say, and we can give you 1 more minute.
So I think I'll stop at this point, but probably wait till the question and answer session, and then I'm happy to take questions.
No
but before
problem.
I stop, I'm also speaking about the response, because it was one of the things that was mentioned. I think you mentioned it as well, that when the incident has happened, the risk has crystallized. What do we do? Lagos State government has a number of agencies. The Fire and Rescue Service, I have one of my colleagues here representing the Director of Fire Services. They have a very efficient fire and rescue service located across the 57 local governments and LCDAs across the state. They have a huge manpower that is constantly being invested in. Just last year or 2 years ago, the state government invested in about 60 new fire trucks and fire vehicles. Aside the fire service, we also have the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, LASEMA. They're always ready to also spring into action. And then we also have the Command and Control Center. The Command and Control Center is the center that takes in all inquiries regarding hazards, identification, emergencies in the state. And we have very efficient numbers that the public can escalate to 112-737. What we preach in safety is you see it, you stop it, and you sort it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause for him. This is quite, deep, and I think you guys have done quite a lot. Especially, I'm impressed with, in terms of capacity building. You have trained more than 750 people. This is really impressive. Please, another round of applause for that, because it's important. It's not just about enforcement. It's not just about, removal of these people from business, but also ensuring that what they're doing is sustainable, and so helping them to develop the capacity they need to run their business effectively. So thank you very much. There's one point you made about guidelines for operating at that level, and you've mentioned about the regulator at the federal level in terms of collaboration. And so I want to talk to the gentleman from NMDPRA, Engineer Ogionwon. How can the NMDPRA collaborate with Lagos state agencies to develop and enforce consistent safety regulations? You can speak from experiences of how you have collaborated in the past and how you see this, going forward to ensuring safe regulation of this sector. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, want to appreciate the Yakubu who delivered the paper. Speaking straight to the issues that were raised, I think he has actually made our job simpler by taking us through the value chain. I mean, from exploration to production to storage, distribution, transportation, and then retailing. And I think we have recorded a lot of successes at the other level of exploration, production, and even storage. But where we are having a lot of challenges is when it comes to the other user end, for the retailing and the transportation. And I want to say that we have actually been collaborating effectively with Lagos State government when it comes to retailing and even setting up of facilities, okay, in the downstream industry. Because when it comes to licenses, before we issue our licenses, there is an input that is actually made by the Lagos State government, okay? So they go through the designs, and then approve it, and then before approving it, that's when it now gets to us for us to now approve, okay, those licenses. So before we approve the licenses, we make sure that they collaborate with us and then go through. So there are a lot of collaboration that takes place. But however, the other area of transportation, I think that is the other area where we are having a lot of collaboration now with the other stakeholders, like road safety, Federal Fire Service, petroleum tanker drivers, MEMAN, NATO, and even the gas associations. So in recent times, what we have tried to do, because we have recognized that transportation of gas has actually been a source of worry and concern in the country because of the incidences that have occurred in recent times. Even the recent one that happened in March here in Lagos alone, you know how many lives and properties was destroyed. So we have actually had an engagement with all these stakeholders and come up with certain timelines for the implementation of action items on the part of everybody. So I think going forward, what we are going to do is to collaborate further with the Lagos State government, because there is a safe to load program.
Yes.
That is actually in place right now, which we have further enhanced, okay, before gas is lifted from the depots and before it is delivered at the retail end. So going forward, I think we are going to engage with the Lagos State agency, and also partner with them to be part of this program which we are implementing.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that. And DG, I think that last message was for you. So this is a very, very emphatic statement on the part of NMDPRA saying they've collaborated in the past and they're willing to do even more collaboration with the Lagos State government. So a round of applause for him. Thank you very much for that. So still on the issue of collaboration, I want to come to the representative of Mrs. Margaret Adeseye, representing the director, Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service. I know that, the fire service coming after the whole fire hazardous accord. Mr. Mojola has talked about, how they carry out post-incident analysis and assessment and so on. And I want to talk about predictive, analysis and assessment. So which means you should be able to predict threats. You should be able to get involved in some of the initiatives they're doing in terms of capacity building and so on to help build the capacity of these people in terms of fire response and so on to prevent the occurrence. So what has been the experience of the Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service? And what are you guys putting in place to help with this prevention measures?
Thank you, and thank you to the organizers of this eventful program. Okay, hi, I'm Amadou Shakiru, representing the Director of Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service, Adeseye Margaret Abimbola, and I brought good tidings from her. While you say we are only known, as you have rightly said, and as the public known, for emergency services, that is not correct, absolutely not correct, because in the Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service, we believe that the best fire you fight is that fire you have prevented from happening in the first instance.
Awesome.
Look, the best fire you can fight is that fire you have prevented from happening in the first instance. So you see all our emergency activities, but you never see those non-emergency activities. Prevention plays a vital role in all that we do. And I thank God that the federal regulator representative has mentioned it. We sign off for any construction of any gas facilities as far as Lagos State is concerned. The buying of the Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service on a provisional permit to construct is sorted. And when such is sorted, we must go through the regulations, the guidelines to make sure all is well before we sign out. And as the case may be, as far as in this particular subtopic we have, the fact is we have stopped signing such for these quote-unquote gas shops. The retail gas shops flooding the streets of Lagos. In the last 3 years, we have not signed any because they have not played by the rules. We are very pragmatic. We will just excuse all the big grammars. We will take it to the nitty-gritty. Gas shops, what are they meant to do? They are meant to start as a mid-gap between the gas plants and the end users, which is the final consumers. They are meant to exchange gas cylinders, not to transload or transfer from one cylinder to the other. But they have failed in that responsibility. We have said it times and times with their various associations, though they also express their constraint. And when I say they are supposed to exchange gas cylinders, how do I mean? I live in a community, and there is a gas shop there. It's a community. You know, a community is not bigger than maybe 20, 30 streets. And for heaven's sake, I think the gas shop there should be able to know me and know where I live in the community. So if I come with my empty gas cylinder, just write my name, Amodu, on it, and give me your own same quantity of gas cylinder. Whether I come with 3 kg or 12 kg, take it from me, my empty gas cylinder, give me your own filled gas cylinder of same quantity. And I go home with it. When I finish using that, I'll return it back. Between then, you must have taken that my own empty gas cylinder now to the refilling plant you are attached to. Because the gas shops also are supposed to be attached to a gas plant within an environment. And that is clear out. That is what they are meant to do. But they are failed in our application because we keep watching them. We have tried to regulate them but again, is it government alone? And I'll tell you, it's not about, yes, fire service must do what they have to do, or government has to do what they have to do, safety commission has to do. No. The gas shop, as it operates, near Alakara, a woman frying bolly, or roasting bolly, just in the same compound. I'm a landlord. Will I give my shop to a gas cylinder operator? I would tell you absolutely no. But unfortunately, even the community, if I cannot even live in a gas shop environment, whatever it will take to stop it, we are going to I'm going to collaborate with all the landlord and tenant association, resident association, the community development association to stop it. Whatever we don't want in our community, we all must stood our ground to stop it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That's very passionate. Round of applause for him. And thank you for correcting me. You know, the best fire you can fight is the one you prevent. I just had to write that down. So please, prevention is better than what? Cure, of course. So thank you very much. That was a very, very beautiful presentation. And I picked up something you mentioned, you know, beyond safety. You have talked about the fact that, you know, you want to get the right quantity of gas. You bring your cylinder 12.5 kg, you want to get 12.5 kg. That has been a major issue for us. It's been a major issue. As a Fanoiki, I know I've sent you a list of questions, but this is something I want you to comment on, you know, because I think there's, in terms of information gap, right? Most of the end users of gas have no idea what goes on in that retail shop, have no idea where the gas is coming from, have no idea that the fact that what they're getting in that retail shop might not actually be what came out of the bottling plant. And so probably you can throw some light on that with respect to the impact of decanting, right? And from an economic point of view, it is an issue, right? Not just in terms of safety. And so can you explain further what decanting is and why it is a bad practice and why it needs to stop?
Okay. Thank you, Norbert, for the question about decanting specifically. But I want to sort of step back a little bit. You know, a few things have been mentioned on the panel that all ties together. And in the same way that safety, you realize, is not one single thing. It's the alignment of many bad things just aligning and causing an incident. So sometimes you need to step back and do that root cause analysis that Mr. Mojola talked about. So retailing in Nigeria today means several things, right? At some point in time in the 90s, 80s, retailing meant, as the gentleman from the fire service said, a location where you can swap out cylinders, right? And that's a model that's engendered in a lot of different markets. Retailing in Nigeria then evolved to individuals being obsessive about their own cylinder for many different reasons, some of them quite practical, in the sense that the cylinder population in Nigeria was declining, and there was a limited amount of good quality cylinders. So I wanted to keep my cylinder. Otherwise, I would gladly exchange it. So the retailing then evolved into the practice which you talked about, decanting as a means for me to retain my cylinder. And now we've evolved a little bit again to the skid plant model, where people again want to hold on to their cylinder, take it to a plant or take it to a skid station, and get it refilled. So which of these models makes the most sense, creates the safest environment to allow this industry thrive? This is what we need to look at holistically. In many markets, the cylinder exchange model has been proven, to be, let me say, the safest. Why? Because responsibility for that equipment is centered around a culpable personality, the marketing company. In Nigeria, where the model is that the individual owns the cylinder, you now have responsibility spread out across. In Lagos State, for example, they say there's 25 million people, so it could be 2.5, 3 million households. You have that responsibility set across 3 million points of culpability, which is a lot more difficult to manage than a finite number. So I think the state needs to go back and, at that very top level, contemplate a system that allows safety to be engendered along the value chain, right? But coming back specifically just to deal with your question about decanting. Decanting is a practice where some guy buys a 50-kilogram cylinder from the filling plant, and he takes it back to his shop, and he tries to break it down into 12 kg, 12 kg, 3 kg, 2 kg. Two things happen in that scenario. One is a technical issue, the other is a commercial issue. On the technical side, in the LPG industry, transfer processes is the single weakest link in the chain of what we do. When you're transferring liquid from one vessel to another, whether it's a truck to a tank, and in this case, a cylinder to another cylinder. When this transfer process is done without safety consideration and technical considerations, it heightens the danger, and that's why we have accidents while they're trying to do this. On the commercial side, for people, when you take your cylinder to have it decanted into another, the physical properties of LPG make it difficult for you to extract the real value that you're supposed to get. So when you're transferring pressurized material, when pressure equalizes, you can no longer transfer the gas, right? So it's difficult for you to get your 12.5. And what does the guy do? He takes a screwdriver and he stabs your valve, trying to reduce pressure so that he can get some more liquid in. In the course of that, you're having loss of containment of gas into the atmosphere, where it could ignite by the Akara woman, or at worst, you're not getting what you paid for. So decanting is a practice that should absolutely, and I think easily, be able to be eliminated in the country. Mr. Mojola talked about whistleblowing. Document 1 or 2 or 3 instances of a facility decanting and shut them down. There must be consequence for action, and if there's no consequence, people will continue to behave badly. So,
thank you very much. Please, a round of applause. This is beautiful. Talking from experience, and without stuttering. Thank you very much. So, I want to come back to the issue of collaboration and stakeholder management, because Mojola just gave me sort of pointers in every direction, and I want to just take a lead from him and talk about it. He has talked about the fact that they've realized, enforcement doesn't just cut it, right? You need to do stakeholder engagement, right? So they've engaged the association, they've trained them, they've also created what they call ambassadors, right? And so I think education, advocacy has a huge role to play. And so for you as the chairperson or chairwoman of Women in LPG, I stand to be corrected. Earlier I said women, when. So Women in LPG, how do you see women playing a role in terms of education, in terms of, help collaborating with the agencies to make the stakeholder engagement more effective, not just from the point of view of the retailers and the actors themselves, but from also end users, speaking from your experience as women in LPG and what you've done so far? Thank you.
When we speak about advocacy as it relates to safety, especially in the context of Nigeria, we take advocacy from a family of 4 A's. So before you can start to advocate for LPG as a fuel for somebody, especially a new user, you need to be talking to them about, first of all, affordability, accessibility, because these decanting agents that we've just spoken about, one of the reasons they have thrived is because they're just 1 minute away from where you live. So in talking about advocacy, we would typically talk about accessibility, affordability, and availability. And on the strength of those 3, advocate for LPG as a safer fuel. But I think that we cannot start to advocate for a fuel without understanding how it affects women differently from men, which is where your question comes in. Typically, we would say that LPG is a gendered fuel. And let me unpack that a bit. What it simply means is the way that access to a clean fuel like LPG, the way it affects women, is very, very different from the way it affects men, even to the extent of life expectancy. So if something starts to affect how long you live as a human being, then it's an important discussion to have. And if we take the example of a woman who needs to wake up in the morning, she has a daughter, so she says to them, come, let's go and fetch firewood. They have to walk maybe 1 hour, go fetch the firewood, come back home, make a fire, cook food. Before the girls can, either the mother can say, look, it's too late for school, I think you should sit down at home and help with the chores, before they can cook a meal and start the day. But if you take that same context and you superimpose it on the life of a man, it's very different. A man just needs to wake up, take a bath, and head out of the house. And you know the way they say that access to energy has a direct relation, is directly proportional to poverty. We can then begin to see that a woman that has access to fuel is an economically empowered woman because it gives her life's choices. She can decide she wants to go to school, she can decide she wants to learn a trade, or for whatever is what, she can decide she wants to lie down at home and sleep instead of having to fan a fire. And a very good example that we use to promote safety even to the most illiterate people is to say that if you have a kitchen, or we can take the example of this ceiling here, but if you paint the ceiling of your kitchen white and you cook with kerosene or firewood, over time that ceiling is going to turn black. But what you find on the ceiling is just a fraction of what is sitting in your lungs. I think that's a very graphic representation of the effect of dirty fuels on the life of women who are primarily responsible for cooking. So I think India has set a very good example for how women can lead that conversation. I mean, it's an easier sell for me as a woman to come to you and talk to you about the fuel that I use to cook. It's easier for me to give you feedback about the cylinder itself, about the fuel. Is it burning clean? Did I smell it this time, or did I think the stench was too strong? All of those things are easier because women are primarily responsible for cooking, and LPG takes up a very large chunk of the consumption that we have in not just in Nigeria, but in the world today.
Thank you very much. Thank you. A round of applause for her. She's the chairperson of Women in LPG. One last question, and I'm going to invite the crowd to ask questions, because of course I would have loved to have everybody answer two questions or 3, but we're out of time. We're 1 hour behind time, and I know everybody's tired, and Yakubu has an appointment. So One last question, Mr. Mojola, very important. Clearly, your strategy is well thought out. You know, beyond just enforcement, you have the stakeholder engagement. You have also tried the issue of creating the ambassadors. You have done mobile courts, you know, post-threat analysis and so on. But one thing I wanted to ask is if you have considered also transitioning these guys from this retailing model they have to the micro distribution centers. You know, what can be done in that area, you know, so that we make that last mile more sustainable. So what we have are not just retailers, but micro distribution centers. What can Lagos State do in that regard, and how do you fit that into your model?
So that question I'll try and answer based on what I know that Lagos State is doing.
Yes.
But before I answer, I believe this might be the last time I get to speak on this session. Okay. I think that for us as the Safety Commission, I believe that more than ever, now is the time for us to come together with the sector, the industry players, to see how we can collaborate and engage deeply in terms of creating more awareness in this business. And I'll give an example. About 3 years ago, there was an incident that occurred. I think it was Iyano Barua. We got a call about 4:30 or 5 a.m. in the morning that there was an explosion and the whole neighborhood went down. All emergency trucks responded. The whole of Lagos State emergency apparatus was concentrated on that community. When we got there, it was almost like a massive bomb explosion. Houses had been gone, number of people killed. Part of the follow-up investigation revealed that about 4 a.m. in the morning, just to reflect on what Madame said, a lady got out of bed and she turned on the gas to cook for her children. For some reason, she was doing multiple things, and then the gas started to leak. This was in her own house. Before this happened, there was a transfer of gas from a skid plant located in that environment. They were on the IPP, they were on the national grid, and then power went, and then they had to change over to generator. In the process of them changing over to the generator, some of the manifold valves got loose, and then gas started to circle around infiltrated into the community. This woman wakes up, she lights up her own gas canister, and boom, it was fires jumping from house to house, and the whole community went down. Now, the question was, when we did a lot of investigation, and we're talking to people, they kept saying, I woke up, gas, I smelt it. I woke up and I felt the coldness on my legs. I was wondering why my leg is cold this morning. I didn't have my AC on, and it's not middle of Harmattan. The signs were there. It was smelling, people were feeling it. Yet, it took 30 minutes from one light from a gas cylinder to light up the whole neighborhood, and lives were lost. The question is, are we doing enough to ensure that people know the dangers of LPG? Are we doing enough? I believe beyond what government is doing, the private sector all needs to come together. The associations need to come together to ensure that we do a lot more sensitization with regards to gas. Now, to answer your question in terms of aggregating them into micro hubs, I know that Lagos State, through the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, I know that Ibile Gas are doing a lot of interventions in this sector. We're discouraging decanting. We've said it over and over, we don't want it, we don't need it in Lagos. It doesn't fit into the blueprint of a city that is going smart. But at the same time, we also need to realize that we need people in work. We need people to earn decent livings. We don't want them on the streets. We don't want them being area boys. So it's always a balance for us in terms of how do we ensure that as we're shutting down a certain type of business for them, we're encouraging them to then start to move to safer forms of business. We know that gas is here to stay. We're not going back to the fossil fuels of firewood and some other types of fuels that are not carbon friendly. So for us, I know that the state is also having these initiatives. They're injecting funds. They're also empowering a lot of people in terms of having these startups. But specific ones, you'll have to obviously reach out to Ibile Gas and Lagos State Ministry of Energy for more information on that.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. I'll come back to everyone for one last word from everybody, but I want to invite the... Okay, so we have one person there. So any other questions from the attendants, participants? I have one person. So obviously you guys have had enough, or you know so much about LPG safety and you're content with what you know. This is your opportunity to ask questions to these guys and get as much as you can. Yes? Okay, I have one more person. So that's two. So please ask your question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mine is not a question. Thank you so very much for time taken out to attend this event, to the panel. Thank you so much. My name is Nuhu Yakubu from the ministry. And what I watched, I want to say is to corroborate a few things that has been said this afternoon. At the ministry, we are somewhat concerned about safety, especially with LPG retailing. I know our major challenge is the last mile. You know, those shops in our neighborhoods. I don't know, it's a big headache for us. And I just want to admonish us and throw a challenge to everyone seated here, the private sector and the public sector. We need to come together to find a long-lasting solution to this. Just like the fire service officer said, is it possible to eradicate them completely? I would say no, because along the value chain, they serve their purpose. But how best can we ensure their operation is safe? I think that's one thing we need to sit down together and really think about and come up with a good solution. That's my submission.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shoba. Thank you. So, collaboration. I think, you know, we have a lot of work to do between the private sector and the public sector, coming together to form maybe a safety squad, you know, to be able to address all of this and develop an ecosystem, you know, put in place all the policy frameworks and what needs to be done, not just to enforce the safety, but to transition these guys safely into the macro distribution system or into models that you can easily monitor and safely operate. And so there's one other question there.
Good day, sir. I'm a student of LASG. So my question goes to the Ministry of Emergency. Sir, my question is...
Ministry of what? Sorry, can you come
Sorry,
again?
my question goes to Lagos State Emergency. Lagos State Emergency.
Oh, okay.
Sir, it's concerning that the canteen and exchanging of gas whenever I want to refill your gas. Now, it happened, I want to flashback to 2012 when I first came to Lagos. Like, I went to Oando Fuel Station to go and refill my gas. So he exchanged my gas to me. Like, I gave him my gas and he gave me another one that I have. He did not decant for me. But what happened was the gas that he gave me was not a new gas, because I took a new gas to the place and a new cylinder, sorry. The cylinder that he gave me was not a new cylinder, it was an old cylinder. So when I took it home and we used it, I went back to give back to Oando to give me another one, but later I said I can't collect it back. So if there's a way or a policy, because of it was the new gas that we got in that particular month, and later when I took it and he gave me an old one, then taking back that one that he gave me back to the where I got it from, said that it can't take it back, that it's old, that can get another one. So I don't know how we can look into that too. Because if we are looking at, because I said I'll keep a name on the cylinder, but we have other gas owners that want to give out your gas to people. And if they give out your gas to people, and how will they use your own gas? But this is the kind of thing, one that we fill your gas in your front, if you have the cylinder, they feel it, one that the risk is high. So I need your comment on this, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Fanoiki, I don't know if you want to take a stab at that. You know, as an operator in the sector, you know, maybe you can throw some perspective in terms of exchange versus just decanting, people wanting to hold on to their cylinders and so on.
Yes, he's got a very valid point. I always say you need to understand why people act in the way they do.
Yes.
And he's not acting unreasonably, considering he made an investment and looks like he's not getting a return on his investment.
Yes.
In my own opinion, it's because today the market is not, well, let me say the market is confused as to which model it wants to adopt. I've been in the business quite a bit, and I remember when Total was the dominant player in the exchange business. And because Total not only exchanged your cylinders, but they maintained the cylinders, people were glad to go back to Total to exchange their cylinders because they were more likely than not to get a like-for-like exchange. So if the industry commits to a model and you see marketers now investing in that model, you will see marketers investing in cylinders, you will see marketers investing in the renewal of their cylinders because it goes to a commercial end, it goes to their bottom line. If you don't bring your cylinder back for me to exchange, I can't make any money. And if you're not bringing it back because I'm giving you junk every time you bring me a good cylinder, I will slowly go out of business or lose business to another competitor. So I think the first thing is the market makes up its mind, and you'll see that the commercials will play out nicely.
Thank you very much. Any more questions? Okay, one last one. I have a lady. Okay, so the gentleman here wants to add to what he has said. And then we'll just take two questions quickly, and then we'll round up with a word from all the panelists. And we'll have Mr. Yakubu round up for us with...
Okay, in addition to what was said, I think that's succinct anyway, but also addressing that same issue, I think the gas plants have no business exchanging gas cylinder. They are certified and safe enough to refill. And like you said, if they do that kind of example, I mean, they have their competitors to get their product. So what happens with the gas shop? What we advocate is, we live in the same suburb, in a community, which peradventure we are supposed to know each other. Or I know where you stay, you know where. So what do? If I take my gas cylinder to you, you write my name on my empty gas cylinder. As you go to refill it from your attached refilling plant, you keep it. By the time I'm coming back next, that is what I'm getting. I'm getting my own cylinder. Is that I'm getting my own cylinder, and you will be sure that, Oga Onigas, you must make sure I'm getting my gas cylinder by the time I'm returning next time.
Okay, thank you.
So I think...
Thank you, sir. So that's what should happen in a normal scenario, but we know decanters, they can't make money taking your cylinder and going to come back, so...
Session moderator,
yeah.
I'd like to add a word, please.
Okay.
You see, it's not as straightforward as you just put it. I'll throw a question at you, and then I'll propose a solution, you know. Now, if you say that a plant does not have any business in exchanging cylinders, and their role is essentially to fill cylinders, and then the consumer can apply his name to the cylinder. It sounds well, that's fine. But the question I'll ask you is, when it's time to recertify that cylinder, who will enforce the law, the regulation that requires that every cylinder needs to be recertified after 5 years or 10 years or what? Who will enforce it? And I'm not saying that, you know, I'm not saying it's a conundrum, like what you rightly said. The cylinder exchange program has been practiced, and operators who have practiced have gotten their fingers burnt. That's why there's now owner consumer-owned cylinder scheme in operation, and there's a reason why. But in each model, it poses a challenge, all right? And one of the challenges it poses is that there's not been sufficient cylinder proliferation because, you know, the marketers are not investing in cylinders. If marketers were to invest in cylinders, just like Total did, Total packed up their shop and left Nigeria because they got their fingers burned. They buy cylinders, 1 million cylinders, the next month is 900,000, the next month is 600,000 because the cylinder just take flight. All right? So perhaps what we need is a technical workshop where we have the regulators, industry operators, industry associations, consumers, the state government, all in one room and fashion out a way forward. All right? That, in my view, because no matter all the questions and answers we asked here today, it's not going to solve the problem. We're just going to be scratching the surface. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So at the end of the day, still collaboration between stakeholders. Yeah, so one last question, I think from, you two. We don't have time, so one last one from Engineer Dukaya.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Yes.
Yes, exactly what I wanted to put across is what Nuhu has put across. We need to look for proper regulation for category D. And I'm sure NDPRA is here. The regulators are here. The operators are here. The state governments are here. The users also, the retailers also, some of them are here. We need to come together and develop regulation for that. So most of the incidents that occur in Lagos come from that sector alone. 90% come from that sector. So there is need for us to quickly sit down, bring out regulation, and come up with action plan that will take to solve the problem immediately. If not, this next year we will still keep talking about it. God forbid any incident happening again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And so, final words from everybody. One word from you, just a sentence in 30 seconds.
Okay. I think the way out, so that we don't make this a talk shop, we make it an action plan. He has said it. Everybody are here, all the various strata of the society are here. So let's provide the solution and go forward from there.
Thank you very much. Women in LPG, one last word. Parting words.
My parting words would be, even for people that want to invest in the sector, we usually encourage, do not try to cut corners. Don't say, my brother is a civil engineer, he can build a plant, he studied mechanical engineering. Go to people who understand what is required, especially because everything that is required has a safety component to it. So please don't try to cut corners, whether you are an investor or you are a consumer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ebi, last word.
Thank you very much. So just to corroborate what the last gentleman said, in 2024, from our statistics, out of the 6 incidents that happened, 4 of them was actually from the retail shop end. So that tells you the seriousness of what we are dealing with along the value chain. So what I said earlier, that we have recorded some successes at the other end.
Yes.
So now we need to look at what we can do to actually take care of what is happening at this last mile. And I want to appreciate what the Lagos State has started by opening up this conversation. It's very important because whatever we are doing as NMDPRA, we are going to make it cut across all the 36 states across the Federation. So I'm happy that Lagos State government is taking the lead. We are going to continue this conversation. We cannot do it on our own. We need the collaboration of all the stakeholders that are involved. Collaboration, collaboration, collaboration is what we need. Thank you very much.
So a round of applause for that statement. Lagos State has started a fire. And, you know, with collaboration, I think if we get the model right, it can be replicated in every state in Nigeria. And, you know, we can be a model for everyone to copy. Okay, Yakubu, one last statement from you to round it up.
Last word will be, takeaway from this conference should be a technical workshop. A date should be fixed for a technical workshop to discuss ways out, all right, of all the matters arising from this conference. Thank you.
Awesome. Please take notes, Engineer Shoba. Okay, Fanoiki, parting words.
Yes. Okay, I'll just date myself.
Yes.
I've been in the business since '07 when this whole market was 70,000 tons. Yeah? And today the market is about 1.5 million tons. And yet, still, LPG penetration in the Nigerian home is still less than 40%. So there is a tremendous upside yet to this industry. So as industry, it is in our enlightened self-interest to take safety, as seriously as we can. It is the single thing that can wipe away all the gains that we've made in all these years and preclude us from going forward. So we can't say enough about safety, and I implore industry to act in enlightened self-interest to protect it.
Thank you very much. Okay, DG, final words.
Yeah, so final words for us is accidents just don't occur. They happen because of mistakes. They happen because of triggers. Eyes not on task, mind not on task, balance of traction, line of fire, negligence, frustration, complacency, the list goes on. My last words would be, you see it, you say it, you sort it. That bringing it out might be just what would ensure that that accident does not occur. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So a round of applause for all the panelists. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your contribution to this session. And I hope it was a blessing to all of you. Do enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you very much.
Indeed it was, Mr. Moderator. Please put your hands together for our panel, ladies and gentlemen. Believe me when I say it's not an easy task for them to come up here and do this and to also make it worth our while. And so indeed we are grateful. We would recognize and appreciate them now, and to help us present the plaque, we have the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Energy, Adamawa State, in the person of Mr. Dogara Paul Musa. Sir, please, may we have you up here. Please put your hands together for him as he takes on the podium.
Okay, so the first one goes to the DG, Mr. Mojola. Please step forward. So you can face the cameras. Thank you. Next one goes to my sister, Joy Shayien. Careful. You can face the camera. Thank you. This one goes to our Oga, President Nuhu Yakubu. What a gentleman. Thank you very much, sir. You can face the camera. Okay. And this one to my brother, Femi Fanoiki. Thank you, sir. Okay, Engineer Ogionwon, you're next. Thank you for coming today. Okay, his responsibility. Yeah. Okay, we have a last one for Mrs. Margaret, and her representative will collect it on our behalf. Thank you. No, today.
Okay, not a problem, sir. Surely one. Okay, surely one till Tuesday. Come on, okay. Everyone need card, sir. All right, consider it done. Okay. All right.
And this one is for our able moderator, sir. All right, so we'll take a group picture. Please permit me to request the presence of the Honorable Commissioner to join them on stage, sir.